Today we're going to install the crossbars on my Model 3 Performance. You guys have been around the channel know I'm a cyclist, so I need a way to transport my bike other than just stuffing it in the back seat. Step one is to clean the glass where the crossbars are going to mount to protect your paint. You're going to do that on both sides. Here are all the parts of the kit laid out. The crossbars themselves, you've got little stickers, protect your paint, a little tool to move the rubber gasket, hex wrench, keys, pads, little mounting brackets and wing nuts, and then the covers, etc., etc. So just make sure you have all this stuff in your bags when the stuff arrives for you. So this is the driver's side front, passenger side front, driver's side rear, passenger side rear. And you can kind of see on this thing which tire is kind of flat. That kind of shows you where it goes. You're going to want to look for the arrows in the glass. They're kind of difficult to see, but there's one near the back section, and the instructions give you the measurements, what to look for. But if you look close, you'll find them. They're little gray arrows. That's where you want to put the little brackets. That's where it's reinforced. So just pay close attention to that. These arrows on the stickers are also going to line up with those arrows I was just showing you. So once you make sure you have the right sticker for each side and each location, then you're going to line up that sticker and put it onto your paint. This is like paint protection. Not sure if you can make out the other arrow that's on here, but it's right there. It's kind of hard to see. Just line those up the best you can. Next step is to use this little clip tool to pull the rubber back from inside and to attach one of these. The first one I tried, the driver's side front, gave me a little bit of trouble. I had a hard time kind of sliding that tool underneath the rubber gasket and pulling it forward. And initially I hadn't pulled it forward all the way, and then sliding that metal piece in felt kind of weird. It didn't feel smooth. And I realized later that that rubber gasket wasn't quite pushed all the way. So just make sure you get it out of the way. It's supposed to be a piece of metal under there, I guess. So you just want to line up the center of this with the arrows here and then here on the glass. Not good to me. And that one went in a lot easier than the other one. Oh, that definitely felt better than this one. All right, the passenger side went in super easy, as did the rear over here. So I fiddled around with this one a little more, and I didn't have the rubber up enough. That's why this didn't really go in. So it should go in super easy. So if you're having to force it, like I tried on that first one, redo it. Make sure you get that rubber gasket out of the way. All right, next step is to install these guys. Again, make sure you have the right one in the right spot. Just kind of scooch down over the mount here. See if I can do this with one hand. There we go. All right, we got all 4 rubber mounts on. Just make sure that your little bracket is lined up with the arrow still when you put these on. Make sure everything's lining up. I believe that's where the strength of it is underneath that glass. They have little mounts, is my assumption. So next it's basically, you just want to take the appropriate bar and line it up the best you can. It's a little bit difficult with one person, but just take your time. You can get it to work. It was a little bit fiddly, but we finally got her to work and get everything lined up. And putting the back one on, I realized I made a mistake. I switched the rubber pads and the stickers, had them on the wrong side in the back. So I had to peel the stickers, move those around on each side, and then put the pad on the appropriate side. So yeah, I had not only the sticker, but this on the wrong side. So just pay attention. I don't know how I screwed that up. Just look for the little indented tire, that's where it goes. So let's try that back crossbar again. Amazing, when you do it right, it actually fits. All right, so crossbars are on. You're gonna have a little bit of slight gap here until you tighten the screws down, which we'll do next. But again, you can't really screw up the direction because there's arrows up here with the front of the car. I managed to screw these up, as you just saw. So just pay attention, don't be Rick. Wing nut goes in this configuration. See if we can capture that nut at all. And this is where you need to be very careful. You just want to hand tighten and then use a torque wrench. And I'm going to do all the sides first before I tighten anything with the Allen wrench, so stand by. All right, so I have these hand tight. Well, I guess this one's not quite. And I had a little bit of trouble with this crossbar. For some reason that side would not line up if I had this just a couple turns. So I loosened this one and got that one finally lined up, and just these are hand tight now. And it says, I want to say it was 3 to 3.5 Newton meters. All I have is inch pounds. So 3 Newton meters is about 26 inch pounds on my torque wrench. So I'm gonna get these torqued up. God forbid I crack the glass. The last part is just putting these dudes on. But you can first lock it. Apparently that locks it. It just felt weird, but. And on this they say, click the bottom in first, or put the bottom in first and then click the top. Yeah, this one was turned all the way that way, which to me was already locked. I don't know. And by the way, this needs to be lined up here for this to close. That did not snap in as well as the other one. Hopefully that doesn't fly off as we're going down the road, which it probably will, given my luck. I seriously doubt anyone's gonna try to steal somebody's roof rack, but I guess these days you never know, man. Never know. Kind of in the way. You may find that you have to manipulate the rubber gasket that's in the middle of the bar to get these things to snap in, but otherwise they snap in pretty easily. Just pay close attention to that. And I think that was what was going on with my driver's side back. So Tesla says after you install these guys, you should yank on them a little bit. And there's a whole process of putting something on the roof, driving, checking everything, driving, checking everything, which is probably the smart thing to do. Seems pretty snug. What I'll probably do is throw my bike rack on there and then drive around and just make sure those wing nuts are still lined up where they're supposed to be, and go from there. Pretty straightforward install. A little bit scary, just trying to deal with that glass roof. Don't want to break that, obviously, but really not that bad. Just take your time getting those brackets underneath the rubber that fits in that window sill or the roof sill. Otherwise, pretty straightforward, and we'll see how it operates once I get this front loader rack on here. All right, so we have this Yakima front loader rooftop bike mount here. I'm gonna be using this with the Tesla. I have a hitch mount for the truck, and worst case scenario, I just carry the bike in the back of the Tesla, but got the roof rack. So we're gonna try this thing out. I've usually used fork mounts on this kind of stuff, so this is kind of new for me. So we'll see. Having the bike so upright, I'm sure is gonna massively affect range, but at least somewhat. Trying to figure out how to get these boxes open. There we go. Yeah, open it from there, not where I was trying to. So instructions, please read me first. We'll do that. It's always interesting putting your very expensive bicycle on the top of your roof. So yeah, just this guy folds up, holds your front tire. These things just grip onto your mounts. So pretty straightforward. It comes with some kind of a lock, which is nice. And this dials in the pressure on here to make sure that your bike's nice and snug. And then of course you have a strap for your rear wheel. Like I mentioned in my Tesla video, I'm assuming this is gonna probably, being so upright, it's gonna maybe use a little more range than if it was just a fork mount, but as mentioned, I think it's just better for me personally to not have to keep the front wheel in the back of the car in case I've got a bunch of stuff to carry with me. So let's read me first thing, and then we'll check out the directions and show you how easy it installs here in a second. So what I did first is I actually loosened the rear clamp so that it made it easier to get on. So put the front part of the rack on, then you're gonna slide up that back portion to get it around the crossbars. And then you gotta kind of move that guy out of the way. And then from here, you're gonna snug the back down a little bit. And I'm gonna show you an explanation here in a second of what this back part looks like, but you just essentially need to loosen that enough so that there's a little T-screw that will fit into the mount itself. All right, so I'll show you what I was just doing there. Number one, you want to make sure this is lined up straight from front to back. It's gonna have a little bit of a curve to it just based on the shape of the car. But this guy you have to loosen enough. I had it loose so that there's a T on the bottom, so that it was this way, so I could open up that flange. Once the flange is in there, you want to loosen that T so it'll go down and then rotate and then pull back up so you can tighten it. So that's what I was messing with over here. It makes sense when you see it. It's very easy. And then this guy looks like you spin this, possibly, that pulls through, and then you just get these snug on here. Very similar to most of the other bike racks I've used. And before I snug this all the way, I'm just going to check again to make sure that I got it pretty even. Looks pretty good, I think. All right, so that's pretty snug. Snug on there. I think I can get maybe one more turn on it. Okay. And then this guy, let's get a lot more turns on it. Snug this guy down. And then you'll pull test. This guy's labeled right here to give you an idea of whatever size your tire is. And nice thing is I can drive into my garage with this on there. Don't have to worry about the height too bad. Again, not that I'm going to leave it on there. I'm going to leave it on here for the rest of the week Like I said, I'm leaving on Sunday to go up to Phoenix, and I will let you know how it works. But very straightforward. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the cost. I think it was less than 200 bucks. I'll have to put that down below or on the screen right now. But eTrailer.com, again, no affiliation. I just like the company. They've been, I've used them a bunch over the years, so. All right, so we're gonna try to put the bike up on the rack here, and we're gonna drive around a little bit and hope to God it doesn't fall off, but we never know. So step one is to make sure you set your wheel size. It just makes your life a lot easier if you do that first. And then on that rear wheel cup, I actually flipped it around so that you connect it on the driver's side, which makes sense. They're coming from the driver's side. So you're gonna grab your bike, get it in the cups the best that you can. And then once it's in there, you just kind of push it forward and you'll see it kind of rock forward and kind of pinch the tire. There it goes. It's really nicely in there. And then what I did here is I locked the rear tire down. And then at this point, once you're touched and you feel like you've pushed all the way forward, you're going to start tightening that red dial, and that's going to put that clamping pressure on your front tire. And unfortunately, to get it, for everything to move up and down correctly as far as those two pieces, you have to loosen that pretty good. So I think it's going to be, take a while between, getting it completely tight. And then at this point, I just kept tightening it until it wouldn't tighten anymore. And then I even tightened it again later. So I just keep rattling the bike and making sure everything's snug. And then you'll see here in a minute, I wasn't real happy with how the bike was moving still. So I went to the bike, or to how it was mounted to the crossbars, and tightened those knobs a little bit more as well, both front and back. One thing to mention on that back wheel cup, that extra strap is pretty long. It is a distance away from the paint, but just make sure that yours isn't too close in case it flexes a little bit. You don't want to scratch the top of your car. I guess that's glass there anyway, so it's not a huge deal, but just an FYI. And with every bike rack I've ever had, there's always been movement, so you're going to expect some. You just want to make sure it's not massive. All right, so there you go. If I'm being honest, just like installing the rack yesterday, this makes me a little nervous putting my bike up here, having never used this type of rack before. You just gonna have more forces on the bike, being that it's so upright. With a fork mount, you don't have that front tire on, so it's lower, less movement. And then obviously you need to avoid driving into your garage with your bike on the roof. That's always a good thing to do. One of the things I have done in the past is take my garage door controller out of the car, so that you actually have to stop and get out and manually lower or open your garage. Because you just get, I know I have in the past been really close to driving into my old house with the bike on the roof, so that is a bad deal. You don't want to do that. Anyway, we're going to take this guy for a ride in just a second, but let me show you the lock situation. So this front loader bike mount does not come with a lock blank in it, so you have to buy those. And then once you do, you can lock. There's another cable on the other side that locks into this red part, but you need to buy the lock blank to do that, which I have not done yet. So something I need to do. And then it kind of looks like there's another lock here in the front, that little black area. I think that's another rubber plug that you can lock as well. So have to look into that as well. All right, well, let's take this bad boy for a drive and hope we don't have catastrophic failure, even though it would probably make an interesting YouTube video. So far, pretty solid up there. This is a road in my neighborhood. I'm not going very fast, 25. It's a pretty crappy road over here, so I thought it'd be a good spot to see what kind of movement we're getting up there. And I'm gonna move the camera angle here as soon as I get to the end of the road, and we'll drive back the other way. So that seemed to go pretty well. I did not drive very fast, but it didn't move that much, so pretty happy with it. I'm gonna go around now and make sure all the wing nuts that are inside of the crossbars have not moved, and they're not supposed to because they're locked, so we'll see how that goes. But hopefully on the freeway, it will be fine. You guys will know if it's not. Appreciate you watching, and let's take a quick look at those, and if you have any questions, leave those below.